Next up, we have Gran Turismo. Gran Turismo. Racing games. Oof. Touchy subject. Touchy subject because I grew up loving cars and loving racing. Totally. This is the year 1998. Now, as you can already tell, my reviews tend to be very personal. I kind of do these videos for me to watch in the future. I'm sure no one will really watch them, but so I talk a lot on them, but that's just for me. I got into cars in approximately like the year 2002. One time, my uncle, my father's cousin, basically, we were going on a very long road trip and we needed a place to crash. So my parents and my dad got in contact with my uncle. He was living in San Antonio, if I'm not mistaken. And we stopped by his place and we stayed for one night. And he was a young buck. He was a mechanic. I think he even worked for like BMW and stuff like that. But he was a young mechanic, and he showed my dad the movie The Fast and the Furious. It was this brand new movie that had just came out. He had the VHS for it. It was the shiznit. He put it on for my dad on his small TV in his little apartment. And I remember they were watching it one late night. And I remember I wasn't really watching the movie with them because I was a kid, and it had a couple of inappropriate scenes. You have your partying scenes and your violent scenes and your girls making out scenes and stuff. So it was more for adults at the time. I was a little kiddo. I was like nine or 10. And I remember I did see a few scenes though. I kind of like sneak peeked at the movie, and I just saw these like super cool cars like driving. And I was like, oh my gosh, that is so amazing. Street racing and breaking the law, it's so great. And so as a young teenager in high school, I would always beg my dad, like, Dad, buy me an Eclipse, a Mitsubishi Eclipse, and I'll fix it up, even if it's broken down. Buy me a Civic or buy me something. And ever since then, I had always gotten into cars, doing research, like into tuners, turbos, and kits and engine swaps and exhaust systems, headers, intakes, all that good stuff. Just what a young buck would do, especially in the Fast and the Furious days. Anyway, back to reality. Gran Turismo, PlayStation. 98. If I'm not mistaken, there's even a scene in Fast and the Furious where they're about to do the first major street race, and I think the Asian guy in the white Honda Civic is playing this game on his PlayStation. I think that's how it goes. And he's like screwing up, or maybe he's doing good, I don't remember. This game actually comes with 2 manuals. You open it and there's nothing here, but this actually has the PlayStation logo on it. It's not meant to hold a disc. It's just meant to be a cool image with your first manual. Now, this game is super interesting because it's got really nice color manual. They spent a lot of cash on this manual, you could tell. Lots of pages, lots of education, being able to go through the menus, what it's all about. Very cool. How to play, the different modes, the different, cars, I guess. Analog controllers had just started, so they took advantage of that totally, and the analog controller is great in this game. This game, it's hidden love for sure. More love. The controls are phenomenal. Like the way that you can move this car, the way that you can, maneuver it left and right, brake, handbrake, go through curves, speed up, slow down. The steering, it's just a dream. And I love it because each car is unique and each car runs different. Some have more or less acceleration capabilities. Some have much better handling than others. Some are just god awful. Some are fantastic. So that's a huge deal for sure. The graphics at the time for the cars are just super, super good. It looks just like the cars, you know. I bought like a CRX, an Integra, a Type R, and I think I even bought a Supra, a Dodge Viper, and an Acura NSX. Of course, cars that were only available up until '98. These are all the vehicle brands. This game was so much fun. I think I had the most fun, not on the races, but on getting the licenses. You had to get certain licenses to qualify to race in certain races or cups or tournaments, if you will. Realistic vehicle physics, simulation mode, customization. Yeah, you can purchase new and used vehicles. The parts, it's just one type of part, honestly. This game was a lot of fun. I mean, my only complaint really would be that it was just kind of boring, like on the track. I've never really, you know, on a track, you just race and that's kind of it. It's kind of like NASCAR. And unfortunately, I've never really been into, you know, legal racing and stuff like that. Maybe it's just because how I was raised, you know, watching Fast and the Furious and stuff like that, the very first original. I grew up on Need for Speed Underground. You know, that was for the GameCube. I think that came out like in 2002 or 2003. I don't remember. But I mean, in those games, you could customize, you could like, you know, crash into like civilian cars, obstacles. You had like objectives going against other homies who wanted to kick your ass and you would take their money. So it was more like down to earth, more like, ooh, I could actually get into this. This was just very boring. I mean, of course, relative to its time, in '98, it was barely popping. Like, street racing had just started. It was born. So this was all we had. And I must admit, you know, this is just fantastic for that time, for what we had. It was just a bit boring. There's not much of an objective. Win first place, whatever. One of the reasons why I must say that I respect this game so much is because of the work that they put into it and the education that the creators choose to give to their players, their audience, because like the physics of, I mean, look at this. So like they have like all these statistics, car models, teaching you about understeer, oversteer, braking, drift, feint motion, spin turn, inducing drift. Look at this. I learned so much by like learning about these angles on your turns, every curve, how to corner properly. This is like education even for like a real life racer. You had your weight education like on the front, on the rear, etc. Tires, accelerating. The work and the thought that they put into these games is just incredible. Like, it really gets you into like the seat of the car, and it really makes you feel like you're training to be a racer. It's hilarious because after I played this game and almost mastered it, I I aced every other freaking game that has to do with racing, whether it was Grand Theft Auto, where there was like a racing objective, or even Need for Speed Underground, or Mario Kart. The physics all apply 100% exactly the same. You know, the simulation is not the same, obviously. The controls are a little bit different. But the concept of like where to do your turns and stuff, it's exactly the same. So the education got into my mind and it taught me something amazing. So I thought that was just wild. I almost beat this game. I haven't beaten the last level, the last tournament. I've gotten gold cups on all the other ones, but not the last one. It's just too hard, and I just don't feel like spending the time of trying 1 million times to finally do it. Maybe I just don't feel like doing that, and I'm not going to do it. But this game, it's definitely a piece of history. Racing games are a dime a dozen. There's so many out there. So it's really hard to want to play through all of them or experiment through all of them and check them all out. I only purchased this one for its epicness and because it was the first of a great series. I do not think I'm going to purchase any more Gran Turismo games at all. I am just raised on and I'm in love with the illegal street racing tuner type stuff. So Need for Speed Underground was definitely my shiz. And I just read about this Tokyo Racer for the Dreamcast that I'm super interested in because I'm interested in like the game system and mechanics. Anyway, this game, you could buy certain parts for it. Unfortunately, you couldn't add on some parts. Like if you wanted to put a turbo on a Honda CRX, it wouldn't let you because the CRX did not come with a turbo. And I thought that was kind of lame. I'm like, well, freaking mod it and put a turbo on there anyway, bitch. But you couldn't. It was restricted. So I was like, eh. You know, the upgrades were limited, but they were cool. Actually, it was cool upgrading your car. And the levels were also quite limited. But for the levels, they were very well designed, very, very pretty, very fun to look at. You know, you had your city levels, you had your out in the country levels, a cool bridge here and there. I like the range of levels. You have your very small, tight, million turns levels. Then you had your large, wide, speed-hungry levels. A lot of fun. I like how you could buy and sell your cars. You could experiment with different cars. It was just boring in how you would earn your money. You would just beat the same damn tournament like 10 times and you would just get cash every time. And then they would give you like a car every time you beat the tournament, but it was the same car. And it was a lame car and I would sell it every time. So that was kind of stupid. Anyway, I give this game a solid 8 out of 10. Phenomenal, not perfect, a little boring, but great, especially for its time. Really, really good. Solid 8 out of 10.